The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, Relmar McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome to the Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We're coming to you through the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net, and can also be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour we'll be exploring Become as Little Children. I've always loved children. Well, most of us do, but I view them differently than many. I see them as perfect, radiant beings, amazing expressions of light that are challenged with giving up their true expression in order to fit into the artificial human world. I've always been able to calm a fussy infant by simply reflecting their inherent light back at them. I guess it makes them feel more at home, like they aren't alone here. Sadly, it's only a reflection, as I can't come close to embodying their amazing bandwidth. I've been here too long. It kind of takes it out of a person. To watch young children play is to experience the power of imagination before it becomes shut down by the denial of those around them. They really are living their fantasies and dreams. Given enough time, they'd grow up to manifest them. Alas, they're not given that time. Instead, they're taught that the imagination is not real, a thing one must grow out of in order to become responsible adults. If you can't imagine a thing, you can't create it. The imagination is a vital part of the creative process. When we imagine something, we're actually creating a matrix at the quantum level around which our desires can manifest. Without our imagination, we're left dependent on the system to provide for us in exchange for our life's blood. To watch young children move is to witness complete, unself-conscious embodiment. Every move is fluid. I've often thought it was as if they were made boneless and made of rubber. There's no resistance or blockages in their joyful physical expression of life. Only too soon, they're taught shame. Keep your skirt down. Sit like a lady. Don't climb on the furniture, young man, and so on. The body becomes rigid in an attempt to conform. Soon, the projected judgment and shame from the chastising adult is stored in the child's physical form. Their body becomes further restricted by the emotional miasms stored within. They are no longer granted full expression or range of movement for fear of triggering the stored emotions. Soon the body becomes so impacted with restrictions, judgments, and denials, it can no longer channel the full bandwidth of light that was our birthright. Without the full bandwidth of light, we suffer a shamanic illness known as power loss. Deprived of our light, we can no longer access our inner guidance and must look towards the outward for direction. Light is frequency. If our natural light is weakened, so is our frequency. Our very life force is diminished. We age and die prematurely. After having gone through this brutal socialization, children grow into adults that are often triggered by the open abandon of the young and feel compelled to correct them, make them behave, and toe the line. In so doing, they're actually passing the limiting social restrictions down to their children, no matter how well-meaning they may be. What a flawless program to disempower the individual and render them subject to the system. And all the system has to do is sit back and let us pass our damage on to our children, depriving them of their inner guidance, rendering them unable to manifest and leaving them as subject to the system as their parents before them. Inner stage left the new era. As we move into the Aquarian age, our solar system has entered a much more highly charged area in our galaxy. As a result, there's more light available, and the children now are being born or coming in with the lights on. Increasing incidences of indigo and crystal and rainbow children is unprecedented. These gifted ones, by their very natures, are systems busters. They see through the artificial man-made world and do not conform. They are our light and our salvation. Yet we're labeling them ADD and ADHD and drugging them in droves. We're too busy trying to make them like us, as we fail to realize we need to be like them instead. We need to become as little children, channel the light, follow our inner guidance, imagine the world as we want it to be in order to recreate it. Listen to the children. Our very future depends on it. Our guest this hour is Shakta Khalsa, author of The Yoga Way to Radiance. After this commercial break, I'll introduce Shakta and we'll explore yoga, children's magic, and inner guidance, so don't go away. You're listening to The Science of Magic. Prior innovative episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Shakta Khalsa, is author of The Yoga Way to Radiance, How to Follow Your Inner Guidance and Nurture Children to Do the Same. She's a leading expert on children and yoga, having worked with both since the mid-1970s. She's a parent, Montessori educator, and a yoga professional, recognized by Yoga Journal magazine as one of the top 5 Kundalini Yoga teachers in the world. Shakta is the founder and director of Radiant Child Yoga, an internationally known training program for teaching children yoga and working with raising children consciously. Her website, www.childrensyoga.com and www.shaktawrites.com. Shakta, thank you so much for joining us on The Science of Magic.
Oh, thank you very much, Gwilda. I'm very happy to be here.
You're a Montessori educator, it says here. Would you mind
Yes.
explaining what that means and how it differs from traditional education?
Sure. Maria Montessori was the first female doctor in Italy, and she happened to go to India, and she saw that the children just learned naturally by the things that were in their environment, and she developed a whole system of education through that, where children learn through their 5 senses. Like, for example, even just learning to read, they trace with their fingers, they trace sandpaper letters, and they learn the sounds of them. Instead of learning A, B, C, D, they learn the sound it makes, and they tracing it at the same time. So it's just a kind of a logical, practical way of learning. And when I was a Montessori teacher and had my own school for 8 years, the children would just choose. We just relied on the children's intuition and their own instinct, and the teacher kind of stay in the background and just observe the child more and see what the child's interested in. The children would choose their work from the shelf, and if they hadn't learned it yet, then the teacher would sit down and silently show them the work. So it was all done through gesture rather than a lot of talking. And I was a teacher for ages 3 to 6. And it's really part of the formative years, so that's my favorite age. It has been my favorite age, and I really enjoyed being a Montessori teacher, and we did yoga as part of our school day as well.
So you kept them engaged physically as well. When you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
this, it reminds me of the way a lot of the indigenous people raise their children, in that there was not a whole bunch of talking. Most of it was taught by
Mm-hmm.
example and touch and feel. And it
Yes.
seems like the kids ended up being more grounded that way because we're not forcing them out of their natural expression so young. Was that the idea
Yes.
behind it?
Yes, I would say so. Although I have seen some Montessori schools who have kind of given in to the pressure of achievement, but that isn't the original way that Maria Montessori developed this program. And so when I had the school, which is in the 1980s, I really kept to what her true intention was, at least as far as I could feel it. And the yoga and the meditation we did in the classroom really helped. I also showed children how to do healing work on each other because they naturally could see energy, feel energy, but no one was ever talking to them about it. So I just let them know that I understood that and that I was helping them and inviting them to explore that.
Oh, amazing. Admittedly, some socialization is required for children to be successful in the world the way it is right now. So,
Yes.
how do you advise parents and teachers to socialize the children without squelching these natural gifts?
Well, the way that I do it in my new book and the way I do it in any yoga classes I teach with children is the concept of cooperation, where cooperation means we are both doing something together and we're both responsible for doing our part so that it can be good for everyone. So it's got like a unity to it. And that's how we would do things in the Montessori school, too. If two children were fighting over a truck, we would bring the truck to the circle, and all the children would sit around, and we'd say, what could Josh say to Brian? Instead of grabbing the truck, what could he say? And then everybody would come up with solutions. May I use the truck? When will you be finished with it? And then Josh could possibly say, well, I'm still using it, but here, you want this one for now, and when I'm done, I'll give it to you. So the children were learning cooperation, and I think there's a lot of adults that don't understand that. And if they did, then they could help their children to do it more. And that's really one of the things that we bring out a lot in the Yoga Way to Radiance book, is that we're all in this together, and so let's cooperate. Let's find ways. Let's be solution-oriented, basically.
So, do you know of any people that have grown up as very successful adults that were trained in the Montessori way?
I'm not as connected to seeing how children have grown up in the Montessori way, just because that was their school system. But within my own spiritual path, which is Kundalini Yoga, I lived in ashrams, and the children were raised with usually Montessori education, but they also at home were raised with yogic principles. And these yogic principles, when I say yogic principles, I don't mean the yoga the way it's presented nowadays, where it almost seems like an exercise system or just a trend in some ways. I mean the true meaning of yoga as it came from the masters, which is more like even what you're talking about with energy, vibration, really being tuned in to the Aquarian age, and really raising our children in a conscious way, like being present and conscious. So I would say, yes, I do know a lot of children who have grown up that way, my son included, and who are well-adjusted adults.
How do you see children's bodies as being impacted by our current educational system?
Well, obviously they don't normally get to move around. They are just using their left brain mostly all the time and not their right brain. And so there needs to be a balance for that. Yoga and meditation are a balance for that. And also just playing, natural playing that children do should be encouraged and allowed. They should, in my opinion, recess and free play time should be one of the main offerings that a school offers, not just cutting that out so that they can do more study. Way too much sitting.
Given that that's not what we have, what do you suggest for parents to do to counterbalance the limitations of the school system?
Allow their children to have free play, encourage them with free play, but also get outside with them yourself. You could just play in the yard. You could get involved with sports with them if they are inclined towards sports. You could just do things even inside the house. In our family, we used to put on the Beatles and dance. We just have fun dancing, and sometimes we'd have pillow fights. Just finding the spontaneous ways that you just free yourself up, your own creativity, free your creativity up to just allow yourself to think outside the box and to get involved. So I think the parents need to get involved too. They can't just send their kids out to play.
How soon do you see children shutting down their natural expression?
I would say when they start elementary school. Before that, I see them a lot more freed up and using their imagination, having imaginative play, being more enthusiastic about life. It seems to me that when they start elementary school, first, second, third grade, those seem to be the crucial times when we start to see them taking on the adult way of a viewpoint of the world, if you could say it that way. You know, they start to kind of take on the burden of that.
You know, I've noticed that adults will, we're talking about imagination here, adults will humor the kids with their imagination, but kids aren't dumb. So it's almost like they realize that the adults aren't buying it and are actually being condescending, patronizing about their imagination.
Sure.
What effect do you think that has?
Yeah, I do see that a lot. And the reason why that happens, in my opinion, is that children are tuned into energy and vibration. They might not call it that. They might not know that's what it is, but they can tell what's real and what's not real. And when a parent is disguising the way they really feel with some words that sound okay and different, meant to soothe the child or meant to have some kind of an effect that isn't true to what they really feel, the children can feel that. And the children who have sensory integration issues like autism, they really feel it. And a lot of times what I find is children feel these things and they express them either in their behavior or just in the things they say in response, but they don't always understand what is going wrong within them. They don't always understand that this person is really not giving me the truth. They just know something doesn't feel right about it.
And so then there goes the feeling of safety out the window because they're not being heard, even though they're picking up something that's real to them. Is that true?
Yes. I give a really good example of that in the book. Just imagine like a mom is driving a car and the 4-year-old child's in the car seat, in the back seat. A car cuts mom off. She slams on the brakes. She's really upset. She begins to swear. She's shaking. And the child says, "What's the matter, Mommy?" And she says, "Oh, nothing, honey. It's okay. It's okay." So now the child has to deal with this because the child can feel something is wrong, but the mom is saying it isn't. So either one of two things have to happen. One is the child doesn't trust adults anymore, just little by little as more and more of these incidents happen. Or the child trusts the adults and not their own guidance, what they feel from the inside. So to just turn that around quickly, the same thing happens if mom says, "Oh, honey, that car cut me off. It was scary for a moment, but I'm calming myself down. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths. Do you want to do the deep breaths with me and help mommy feel better or help yourself feel better?" Now something really valuable has happened, which is mom shows and admits that was scary, and now here's what I'm doing to help myself, and invites the child to join along. So that totally turns the whole situation around into something that's valuable.
Okay, so the child is validated and given tools at the same time in that example, right?
Exactly. And the child can trust the parent because the parent was being honest.
Yeah, it seems like we think we have to protect our children by lying to them, and it's really not protection at all, huh?
It's not, because they can feel it. Feeling energy is vibration, and they feel it easier because they're closer to the natural source. And as they get older, they begin to take on more grown-up kinds of ways of thinking and feeling. That's why I wrote the book for adults, because the children aren't really the issue. It's the adults who don't remember who they truly are anymore. They're not staying connected. So yoga, meditation, being mindful, being present, journaling, loving yourself. Loving yourself is the biggest one.
That is so important, yeah. We're going to have to
Yeah.
take a break, Shakta. Shakta and
Okay.
I will return to our discussion after this short break. You're listening to The Science of Magic on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Previous broadcasts of thought-provoking episodes can always be found on our website, Our Gift to You, www.thescienceofmagic.net. We will be back, so don't you go away. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Shakta Khalsa, is the author of The Yoga Way to Radiance, How to Follow Your Inner Guidance and Nurture Children to Do the Same. Shakta, we were talking about how we inadvertently lie to our children, and then they're stuck with a choice of either ignoring their sense that something isn't right and believing us, or not feeling safe in the world. And would you go into how that shuts down a person's intuition from very young?
Well, this is just the way I imagine it. I'm just kind of putting myself back into a childhood body or a child, a childhood mindset, and I believe that children are just naturally very connected to who they are, meaning that their intuition is very strong. It's almost like an instinct, but an intuition none the same. I don't think that they recognize it as such because they don't have that kind of self-awareness. They just go along with their life, following in a natural way, just as you were talking about indigenous cultures, following their intuition. So if the adults are already connected to their intuition and connected to their own true inner guidance or their self from the inside out, then the child gets to maintain that and even explore and let it blossom as they grow into adults. But so often, as you were saying so eloquently in the beginning, so often at some point in our lives we begin to buy into the usual way of looking at life and thinking the world is a certain way, not realizing that we actually create our world to be as we want it to be, or we create our world by what we focus on. And so if we think there really is this true reality life and then we buy into it, then there's lots of room for discouragement, complaining, not trusting ourselves, trusting authorities outside of us. And the children learn that too. They begin to pick that up as well. They pick it up from parents, teachers, other family members, people they interact with every day, because it seems like, oh, well, I guess this is the way the world is. and they just take it on as well. It's all done very unconsciously, though. It's not a conscious choice with them.
So, how do you think we can reverse this shutdown in children and, for that matter, in adults?
Yeah, well, to me, it has to do with realizing we create our own reality. That's the number one part. Because if I'm in a happy space, then I stay happy even if the outside world around me doesn't change. But what I have noticed is when I'm in a happy space, the sun looks a little brighter. Things happen. I'm smiling. The neighbor talks to me. Things work out. So this is what I've noticed after many years of yoga, meditation, and just being mindful in the present moment. And because we create our world, we can create it and we can choose. And so it's the choice. So we can make a conscious choice to say, well, I'm going to grouse about this thing to my best friend right now, or no, I'm going to sit down with it a minute and I'm going to just find out what that really is to me. What are those feelings, and allow them to be, and allow them to then move into something better. And this is what I have give a lot of guidance for that for parents and teachers and other adults in the book, because I feel like that we as adults are key to these generations of children. Sure, they come in really amazing, indigo, Aquarian children, and we want them to be able to maintain that. And that's why I developed this work to begin with that I've been doing now for the past 40 years, basically.
So, where did yoga originate?
It originated in India, but there are actually archaeological findings that show that yoga also, signs of yoga like statues and hieroglyphs also are shown in the Chinese culture and the Mayan culture. But it became well known and developed into a complete system in India, and no one actually knows how long ago that was. It's as much as 5,000 or 8,000 years ago. It's not new at all.
So, how many forms are there at this point?
Oh, I don't know, because there are more traditional yoga teachings and sciences and practices, but then now that yoga has become much more popular, every day new yoga paths and techniques are popping up. So I don't really think I can answer that question. The style of yoga that I teach is Kundalini Yoga, as taught by Yogi Bhajan, and he brought this from India in the 1960s, and I met him in the early 1970s. So he was a true spiritual teacher who came over from India. So I was really fortunate to be able to learn directly from him.
Very nice. It's always nice to learn from the master. What is Kundalini Yoga, and how does it relate to frequency or light?
Okay, that's a good question. I like that question. I find that the concept of Kundalini Yoga, to me personally, is that it's an awakening of the latent power within each and every one of us, and that latent power is our light. It does elevate our frequency. It does change our frequency and bring us to an elevated state. Now, some people think it's like, oh man, my Kundalini rose and then I was, it was sort of like a drug trip or something. But that's not my experience of Kundalini Yoga after 40-something years. It is a gradual awakening of the true self, of the being that is the most connected to who you are spiritually and physically and mentally. It is the true self that we see in these children, but with the experience that life has given us as part of who we are now. The experiences we've gone through, whether we think of them as negative or positive, create this elevated being. Once we understand who we truly are from the inside, then nothing looks bad anymore. All the stuff we went through was just leading us into who we are now. So that's the way I look at Kundalini Yoga. And as far as the yoga itself, the way it looks different is a lot of the Hatha Yoga-based practices are asana-based, and asana means holding a posture. So most of the yogas that you see in the magazines are holding postures, and in Kundalini Yoga we hold some postures, and we do many of the same postures like cobra or shoulder stand. But we also have what we call exercises or yoga sets in which we do a lot of movement coordinated with strong breathing. Some people say it's related to Tibetan yoga as well, and I've seen some Tibetan yoga, and it is very powerful with movement and breath, so I could see the connection there with Kundalini Yoga.
Okay, so how does yoga help children and adults channel this spiritual light into the world?
Well, for young children, the yoga that I teach is very playful. Like we'll go on little animal adventures, and we'll be snakes and hiss, and then we'll sit and blow a feather for our meditation. And it's ways of helping them focus, find the joy in them. And then as they grow older, the yoga starts to look a little more adult-like. So they hold the postures longer. They understand, oh, this can help me get rid of when I'm feeling anxious, or help me prepare for a test, things like that. So the reason that Kundalini Yoga works so well with kids is because they like to move. They don't like to just hold poses. I mean, maybe they'll hold poses a little bit, but it's great that we have Kundalini Yoga because it has so much movement in it. And they can move in and out of down dog. They can bring their arms up and down and be the beautiful bird, inhaling up, exhaling down. So we have lots of postures and movements, and this helps children to feel more happy, feel more connected to who they truly are. That's what I find. That plus we give them 3 parts, basically. It's the yoga, which is more the movement. Then it's a deep relaxation where they get to just relax and do nothing and just incorporate the effects of the yoga. And then there's usually a seated meditation of some type. And with the young ones, sometimes the meditation is a beautiful song. That something like, there's one beautiful song called I Am the Light of My Soul, and it has movements with it. And the children get to affirm that within themselves before they leave the class.
That's beautiful. Tell me, I want to know your secret. How do you get these little ones to meditate?
Oh, well, they enjoy it. It's very short. It's 1 or 2 or 3 minutes for the 3 to 6 or 7-year-olds, and then a little longer as they go. But I find if you make the meditation kind of magical and attractive and something they feel like they want to do, then it makes a big difference. And also what else makes a difference, and this is something I teach the adults who come to my training program, is your energy makes a difference. If you think they can't do it, they won't do it. If you think they're perfectly capable of sitting in their own light and their own beauty, they'll do it. It's
Amazing.
Energy. It's the way we think about things.
Amazing. So they're actually not just meditating, they're tapping into the frequency of their own beauty. Is that what's going on there?
Yes. Yes, I love that phrase. Thank you.
Yeah. So what do you see as resulting from diminished ability or access to channel the light? What symptoms do you see in children and adults for that matter?
Anxiety seems to be the biggest one. And some self-destructive behaviors or hurting themselves or lashing out to other people. Those are all symptoms of not connecting from the inside to the true essence, the true essential beingness that we are, which is goodness. And they're not tapping into that anymore because they bought into other people's belief systems, which is very, very easy to do. And sometimes it's just a process for all of us to realize we've done that and then come back around to our true essential self as we become more mature. I would say that seems to be part of earthly life.
Do you see it as characterized by an overwhelming sense of loneliness because we're disconnected?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because we're disconnected from who we truly are from the inside. Because once we do that, we find it everywhere. That's been my experience and experience of many of my students. And there's wonderful stories in my new book that aren't my stories. They're all true stories of people who have refound this for themselves. There's an amazing story of a woman who was told by her naturopathic doctor, you are, she was having so much trouble within herself and with her child, and her doctor was bravely said to her, you are reactive parenting. And she said, I don't even know what you're talking about. He said,
we're going to have to pick up with reactive parenting on the other side of the break, so we're going to leave you with a cliffhanger. Okay. Shakta and I will be back on the flip side of this commercial break. You're listening to The Science of Magic on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net, the place where altruistic professionals of science and the esoteric create common ground for the betterment of our world. You can always listen to previous transformative broadcasts on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Shakta Khalsa, author of the Yoga Way to Radiance, How to Follow Your Inner Guidance and Nurture Children to Do the Same. Shakta, we were talking about reactive parenting. Would you describe that for me, please?
Yes. Well, in the story, which was a true story given by one of my students, the parent was raising her child and giving her every single thing that she wanted and seemed to need, and she felt she was being a loving, giving parent to her child. But what she discovered when she woke up to what this naturopathic doctor said to her, you're reactive parenting, she said, no, I'm a loving parent. I'm not a reactive parent. But she felt that there was truth in what he said to her, and she went home and she just really examined herself and realized that she was parenting from her own lack, from her own insecurities. And so it was not coming through to her daughter as a person who is really knows who they are. And because she didn't know who she was and she was insecure, the vibration or energy, that a message that conveyed to her daughter was that she was giving her daughter everything, but her daughter felt insecure because that was the message and feeling coming from her mother. So what she started to do was she started to really contemplate this, to notice how often she was in her insecure self and trying to find love from her daughter. And she instead would go back into a more meditative place, a more mindful place. She would journal. She would really self-examine with inquiry, with self-inquiry. Why am I doing this? Am I giving her this gift because I want her to love me, or am I giving her the gift just out of pure joy? So these were some of the things that she started to notice. And so what happened from that was that she little by little came out of it, and her daughter also became more secure, more her true self, and they have a much better relationship. She knows it's something she has to continue to work on.
Got it. It sounds to me like she did not have the frequency of self-confidence and had to go into a meditative state and really do some personal work in order to reconnect, so she had it present for her daughter. Is that what you're
Yes,
describing here?
yes, that's what I'm describing. Hmm.
Got it. You've been working with children since the 1970s. Have you noticed an increase in the gifted children available here?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, definitely. Um, First of all, I think every child has this potential, but some of them come in and it's so remarkable and so obvious that even people who don't believe in in these things notice it, begin to notice it. So what I find is that children are more able to know who they are and feel who they are as spirits and keep connected to that longer. And even if they get way late or sidetracked, to get back to it easier. Some of them have really strong, what we would call psychic abilities or abilities to know things that were beyond what they could have known through their regular left brain. And I have heard of and seen on the internet children who can even move things or change things. I don't have personal experience with that, but I have seen that on the internet as well. And one of the teachers that I really enjoy listening to has mentioned that the children now are coming through a portal called the Arcturus Gateway. And I don't mean the children, I mean the souls that are being born now. The souls that are being born now are coming through a sort of an energetic stargate gateway, and that it gives them more ability to remember who they are, remember even past lives, and to stay connected to who they truly are in this lifetime and what they came here for.
Yeah, it's I think that the overall frequency on the planet is higher, and so we're able to incarnate with more of our original frequency, whether we view that
Yes,
as a portal or however we look at it. I think it has to do with where we are in the galaxy and the ambient frequency available. Do you see it that way at all?
I do, for sure. I do feel like each generation is able to hold a higher frequency than the one before it, and so this is a natural progression. Perhaps I myself have worked on myself to change some of the patterning that I grew up with. And so when my child is born, they are able to enter in a starting place where I'm already, where I am now, and then they can move on from there. So, yes, I do see it as an energetic frequency that just is continuing to open and grow. And I feel like the frequency that we're moving into is just higher, brighter, and lighter, and I feel very, very good about our Earth. I know there's a lot of dark and light mixing it up, but I think that's all just part of the tail end of these ages that we've been through, and we really, truly are in the Aquarian age now.
It's a blessing, isn't it? And so
Yes.
what do you think is the relationship between gifted children and the ability to access and channel this increasing light?
I think it comes very naturally to them. They don't even think about it. It's not a big deal to them the way that it is to my generation. They can just do it. I remember a conversation I had with my son in which he was old enough to just have, maybe he was 12, 13, and he was old enough to have like a grown-up conversation, and I was explaining to him an insight that I had that was like a real revelation to me, a spiritual insight. And he didn't say anything. And I thought, well, maybe he didn't get it. And I start explaining again. He goes, no, I understand what you said. You said, and he told it back to me and took it a step further. And to him, it was no big deal.
I've certainly seen that in my children and in their children. It's like we have to,
Yes.
go through all these gyrations and ceremonies and this and that to get where they're already at. It's like they're looking
I
at me going,
know.
well, what don't you get here, Mom?
I know. That's why the yoga in my book is for adults, although there is some fun stuff in there for kids, too.
I used to teach children, not yoga, obviously not yoga. Sorry, that's your job. I used to teach children shamanism, and they're naturals at that, too. And one of the things
Mm.
that they really, really got off on and did really well with was embodying their power animals. And I see a lot of animals are used in yoga and the different poses. Can you speak to this?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you had that idea because I love Native American work and the power animals, and I thought about creating a yoga theme where children do choose their animals, and then they create the pose, and then they do the pose and lead it for the other children in the class, and then they meditate on what the meaning of their animal is. So I think that's a lovely idea, and it's actually something that crossed my mind.
Yeah, you know what happens is they're able, by embodying the animal through their imagination, they're able to embody and embrace the frequency that that animal nation is bringing, and it can bring a balance back to the child and or adults. So do you suppose that they would be embodying what they're lacking or embodying their strength if they chose one?
Well, it's a good question, and I've thought a lot about this. I think it embodies both. I think that that's the paradox of it, that the thing that we're challenged by is also the thing that is something that's our gift. So when we work through the challenge of it, then it shines even brighter. That's been a something that I've noticed a lot in my own life and other people's lives. The gift and the challenge are kind of two sides of the same coin.
Yes, they are. They are. Isn't it amazing? And I see that when children are playing, they will oftentimes embody in their imagination the very animal that they might stand for, the frequency that they lack.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
What do you think the children have to teach us at this time?
How to be truly who we are. We have so many methods and ways and techniques, but I find a lot of people get caught up in the technique and they miss the essence of it. But the essence of it to me is to truly know ourselves from the inside out and to realize we're made of pure love. And that's what the children come in as, and it's who we came in as too. So if that's our natural self, then we get to self-inquiry about, well, how do I get back there? What am I doing? What did I buy into that isn't truly me? And just start shedding it.
We're about to run out of time. Would you mind telling our listeners where they can find your book?
Oh, sure. Thank you. The Yoga Way to Radiance is, there are 3 places that I know of you can find it. Amazon, Llewellyn, Llewellyn.com is my publisher, and also my website, which is childrensyoga.com.
Oh, that's perfect. So do you have anything to share in parting for parents to help with their children? We have about half a minute.
Yeah, I think one of the things that maybe I didn't emphasize that's so important is really allowing yourself to be okay with yourself as you are, because that's always the first step. And if you can be okay, you can kind of like let the air out of the balloon and just relax, and then from there you can move into some new places.
So it's about embracing what you are rather than being restricted by what you are not.
That's right.
It has been an absolute joy having you on. Thank you so much, and good luck in all your endeavors. Our guest
Thank you very much.
Our guest this hour has been Shakta Khalsa, author of The Yoga Way to Radiance, How to Follow Your Inner Guidance and Nurture Children to Do the Same. Her websites, www.childrensyoga.com and www.shaktawrites.com. This has been The Science of Magic. Remember, you can always listen to past thought-provoking episodes on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. Until next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge and comforted with love as you embrace the child within.
Searching through the night.